What does it mean to chase your dreams? What does it mean to be famous? What does it mean to have power? Imagine what the tiniest bit of power can do to a person who's lacked it for the majority of their life. Christopher Brendan Ward is a rap artist who performs under the stage name MC Chris. Falling within the genre of nerdcore, Chris raps about topics like Star Wars, nerdy women, and weed. He can easily be recognized by his high-pitched voice that is so nasally, it sounds like he is rapping through a voice modulator.
Hi everybody, how you doing out there? We're all in a strange hotel.
MC Chris was able to carve out a place for himself in a very niche corner of the music world, but the mediocre rise would be followed by a slow descent into irrelevance, littered with pettiness, political pontifications, and bullying. Despite Chris being a small man in stature, 5 foot 5 inches according to Wikipedia, he has a very large ego.
It's very difficult to do what I'm saying. Almost like 1,000 gazillion words are coming out of my mouth in 1 second. Security!
Leave early so you're making them so they don't get to hear a song. No, there's no show if you're in the building.
Oh my god, it's MC Chris. 1, 2, 3.
Why do you want to be so close to the stage, you freak job?
According to Chris, it was not originally his plan to pursue a career in music. The rapping came about out of a natural desire to want to entertain his friends at parties.
They would make tracks, like beats and stuff, and they need someone to rap over it, and I was always kind of getting drunk and rapping at parties. It was like a trick.
Eventually, this would lead to Chris linking up with Dave Willis of William Street, a production company from Atlanta, Georgia, that primarily focused on adult animations. Chris would go on to work with Willis at William Street, contributing to the animations as well as voicing characters from C-Lab 2021, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and having his music featured on both of these shows.
People totally misunderstand me. I rap about life on the streets. I don't advocate demons, man. Come on, drilling into hell? Where you get that schniz nose?
What? For many people, the character MC Pants from Aqua Teen Hunger Force would be their first introduction to Ward, and his niche style of music.
Got real drunk, was really funny, and impressed the right guy, who was Dave Willis, who is the voice of Carl and Meatwad and created Aqua Teen and all those shows. And he said, you know, would you ever be interested in moving to Atlanta? And I thought, oh, I can't see myself leaving New York, even though I like Space Ghost.
Chris officially departed from Cartoon Network in 2004 to focus on his music career, though a Facebook post made by Chris in 2018 suggests that the departure was not as amicable as initially implied. After Chris had seen Brendan Fraser talk publicly about being groped by the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, he decided it was time to open up about an incident he experienced while working on C-Lab 2021. Chris claimed that while at a bar with his co-workers, his boss, Matt Thompson, in a drunken stupor, placed his hands around Ward's hips from behind and humped him an exact number of 3 times before Chris was able to break free and escape this awkward situation. This incident would have a severe impact on Chris, resulting in him having a near mental breakdown. Chris saw this as an incident of sexual assault, and it came during a time when Chris was questioning his own sexuality, as well as feeling insecure from years of being perceived as gay. While this topic is a very controversial one to discuss, I have reservations about calling what happened to Chris sexual assault. Chris leaves out enough detail to let one have several interpretations of this event. The first one would be that Matt Thompson was physically attracted to MC Chris, and that this pelvic thrust was a drunken and botched attempt to flirt with Chris, or initiate some kind of sexual engagement. The second would be that Matt was literally attempting to rape Chris there on the bar floor with the whole world to see. And the third scenario that comes to mind is that this was an inappropriate attempt at some kind of boorish joke from a drunken superior who did not realize that his childish humor is being perceived as a sexual advance. And I'm not the only fan who's had some questions about the exact nature and severity of this incident. Chris's reaction to the event would suggest that it was an act of sexual assault. while his description would suggest it was an unprofessional encounter with a man who needs to mature his humor and have a bit more self-awareness. I can't help but feel that it's a bit hyperbolic to call Chris a survivor. I'm not sure if Ward's life was actually in danger or if he was actually escaping an attempted rape scenario, thus warranting the title of survivor. But regardless, this incident had an everlasting effect on Chris, to the point where not only did he feel obligated to share this story a near 17 years later, but in 2020, he once again brought attention to this harassment. But this post seems less about sharing his story and more about relieving some long-held resentment for Thompson. Years of bullying when Chris was young has turned him into a very sensitive person. He seems to be always on the defensive, reacting to every perceived slight with radioactive energy. The recipients of Chris's hostility are often his fans, who aren't aware of Chris's unreasonably high standard for concert etiquette, often demanding attendees be removed from the show for behaviors typical at most concerts, such as yelling out between songs, filming with your phone, or sometimes just tweeting a less than favorable review of an opener.
I was done with that song before it was. What? Oh no, that's okay. Yes, I'm scared. I'm very, very, very scared. I'm not concerned about having my thunder taken away. I do think security should know about your presence here. Do you know who I am? I don't know, some dumb bitch that's fucking with me right now? Yeah, girl! I don't think you understand what's happening right now. That's not how it works. I understand what your pitch is. I'm gonna have to say I'm not greenlighting right now. Let's just say it's a maybe, and you should go home and expect a call. Security! Just move her to the back.
They already know me.
They know you. Okay, then they have failed. They failed twice then.
No, that's not.
Okay, so security's not gonna do anything about you while someone heckles the show?
Because they love me. No, nobody loves you that much.
God damn it.
In this clip, Chris ejects a fan for yelling out during the concert, something that has happened at literally every single show I've ever been to, and never once have I ever seen an attendee evicted for such an offense. And I've attended around 100 or so concerts in my 27 years on this planet, 53 of them being Fish.
Oh, is it for real? She really's gotta go?
Thanks, man. This laminated magic card just made up for that moment. It was a green deck.
Oh, shit.
Green deck, that's my deck. He knew.
He just really tossed that chick out. I don't even know what happened.
Cool. I thought you turned into somebody else for a second.
What the fuck?
Chris is so flustered that he has to take a second attempt at starting his next song, giving himself a moment to gather up his emotions.
You're trying to do your job, and someone is drunk, and they're like 2 feet away from you, like, the whole time you're trying to do your job. That would make you fuck up a little bit, right? It's very difficult to do what I'm saying. Almost like 1,000 gabillion words are coming out of my mouth in 1 second. It's very hard to do. I know I make it look easy. That's because I'm a fucking master of ceremonies. And listen, I used to drink. I already talked about that. I used to be this girl, not giving a fuck, not understanding what's going on, being completely delusional and foolish about her behavior in a public forum. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's gonna hate herself tomorrow morning. Guys, this is a lesson for everybody in the room, okay? We're gonna treat each other well all the time, the whole time we go out at night. Just because you want to drink and party doesn't mean it's okay to be a jerk the more fucked up you get. It's not how it works. Why are you still there? Don't commit suicide. Don't do pantomime suicide. Go back 5 spaces. It's not a big punishment. You get to stay in the show. This is a great. Move your ass. Oh God! Stop punishing yourself. Just go back. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. You're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a great time. Go back. It'll be fun. Go back. Take her. If you're her friend, you have to be responsible for your friend now. You're not her friend? Where's your friend? You're her friend? You gotta hook us up, bro. You gotta hook all hundreds of thousands of people here up right now and help us out. She's gotta go. The fact that she wants to say so bad is why this is like so fucked up. It's not very, it's like, she's not thinking about the community right now. She's not thinking about any of you guys. It's so selfish and really disgusting to me. The show's really good though, by the way. Lots of jokes. Really good rap songs. Okay, thanks for waiting. Can you help us out? Yes, thank you. She can just go 5 spaces back. Give it up for security tonight. The show will begin momentarily. Everybody, this is a great opportunity to buy another beer. Support your local bar staff.
We can. Sound guy, could you turn on the house lights real quick? Now, I want you guys to help me out. Who said to shave for the Dark Lord that he has no soul? Alright, everybody just make a little path for this guy right here. Everyone just make a little path for him. Make a little path.
In this clip here, MC Chris is angry because someone in the audience yelled out something along the lines that his opener had no soul, but from the context and the vibe the guy is giving off, I'm pretty sure he was joking and that it was made in jest. But unfortunately, MC Chris heard it, and now is demanding that the guy leave the show. He also berates the fan, calling him names, while the fan remains somewhat calm, but clearly disappointed, and reluctant to leave a show that he paid for and give up on the fun that he had planned for tonight.
No, you gotta go, you gotta leave the venue.
Go up further.
No, you gotta leave the venue. Camaraderie? You didn't do that, so you're gonna have to leave the show. You want? No, everyone got $1? I don't have money on me right now, but I'm sure everybody has $1.
After demanding security remove the person, the fan contested that they had paid for their ticket. MC Chris then asked the crowd to pony up the funds for his ticket, and attempts to shame the person by saying that the money was intended to go to cystic fibrosis, but now must be used to refund this attendee.
Got $2, 3.
I got one.
4, 5. Anyone else? We were gonna donate this money to charity, but let's give it to this guy. 5, 6. No, you gotta go. I'm sorry. He felt horrible. You gotta go.
You can hear a mix in the crowd of people who seem to support this behavior by Chris, and others who feel kind of uncomfortable seeing the man who always pontificates about being bullied when he was younger bully someone from a stage. It gets out of hand though when he starts demanding that audience members remove the person themselves.
Well, why haven't you? He's right there. He's right at his merch table, asshole. I don't know. Is he? Do you think he's being honest here that he made a mistake and he was trying to say I don't have a soul either? I don't know. I want to take care of this as quick as I can. Make sure the path is really easy for him, guys. Go ahead. Everybody just go ahead. Everyone go back. See how much fun this show would have been if you hadn't been an asshole? You could watch this show, but you can't because you were a jerk. You don't get a gold star today, buddy. You gotta go. Well, everyone's gotta wait for you, and we have to leave early, so you're making them so they don't get to hear a song. We've already wasted one song. We can't do the song. We're just being selfish. Now nobody wants you in here, man. Why don't you just go? Why would you want to be in that building? Would you want to be in that building? I'd run out of that building. I would run the hell out of that building, wouldn't you? You guys are wearing hats right now. All three of you are. You guys must be pals. You gotta go, buddy. I bet the sound guy will help us out. I think he's the tallest guy here. Is this...
He even asked the sound guy. I would assume this venue doesn't really have the fullest staff on security, but the sound guy seems reluctant to remove someone who's not really actually causing an issue and giving up on that money. What MC Chris doesn't understand as well is that these venues have returning customers. He may only be there for a night, but these bars and venues, they need to have a returning customer base. And if they kick out someone just during your show, it's very likely that person will never come back, because there's an easy chance they'll just get kicked out again. So what would be the point? MC Chris is too selfish though, he doesn't think about this. There are a multitude of venues who won't work with him anymore, and he doesn't seem to understand why, but it's because he doesn't look outside of himself. He doesn't see how his actions are affecting other people around him, and their way of living, their money, the way that they feed their kids. This combination of emotional instability and ego puts Chris in situations that he cannot walk himself out of without admitting a fault in his own character or his ability to handle confrontations. What is a little sad is that a portion of his fanbase completely supports this type of behavior, and they seem to actually get off on watching Chris lay into a fan while standing on stage. One instance in particular gained a bit of attention from a few small websites and a bit of traction on Reddit. A longtime fan of MC Chris was attending his show and was less than impressed with his opening act, known as Power Glove. He made a snarky but harmless comment on Twitter during the act, criticizing the quality, but Ward would take this personally, coming on stage and demanding the person associated with said Twitter handle reveal themselves. And when the fan reluctantly confessed, Chris had him removed from the show for a tweet. Chris would later go on to apologize to this fan, but that was not the end of his confrontations with fans and musicians alike. Chris would even go on to have a confrontation with one of his own opening acts, Lazy D of Green Jelly fame. An incident I was able to listen to a first-hand account of.
Okay, well, Lazy Ass Destroyer, or Lazy D, is the creation of Brian Schwartz. He's a member of Green Jello. The character is a rapper who raps about, like, crazy shit. Like, one of his tracks is called Fuck It. So, you know, he raps about fun stuff, and his character is a drunk, obnoxious guy. For the most part, they are two separate entities. Ryan is a responsible family man. He's not, like, just a drunken bum. That's his character. So after we did a couple of Green Jello shows, this was on Chris's most recent tour before the pandemic. Now, to frame Chris's tour, there were no related opening acts that he had taken with him. The only opening act that he had taken with him was a comedian at this point, and I don't know how that speaks for the decline in people willing to tour with him. Anyway, so we had done some Green Jello stuff. We had finished the Wicked Weekends tour with ICP. And we had a few shows in Southern Ohio and a few shows up here in Northeastern Ohio. But in between there, we had some time off where Bill was off doing shows elsewhere that we don't get involved in. So Lazy D decides, okay, I'm going to try and get on the bill for these two shows. One was in Kentucky, and then the other show was in Cincinnati, which is where Lazy D hails from originally. And the first night, he had done his Lazy D character and nothing had really happened, I guess. But the second night is the night in question, the night that we have our happy little video footage of here. Lazy D had done his opening set, done his drunk, obnoxious character, of course, and apparently this annoyed Chris. So what happened was Lazy D was streaming live to a page called the Super Satan Show on Facebook, which we are all associated with. He is also a bandmate of ours. And the second angle shows that he was standing where he normally does, right at the front of the stage in between the two monitors. Maybe he was a little tipsy and leaning on a monitor once in a while, but he wasn't like crowding the stage. He's up there shooting, and then for some reason in the middle of a song, Chris takes Lazy D's phone, grabs it out of his hand, and chucks it into what looks like a spool of cable. Now, Chris starts lecturing Lazy D, and the part that really gets me is when he says, "You don't know what it's like to tour," because he assumes that this is a nobody that has come to open up for him, right? He has no idea that Lazy D, as a part of Green Jello, has not only toured more frequently than MC Chris, but further than MC Chris, like that show in Sweden, for example, does much bigger shows than MC Chris ever has. And yet here's Chris thinking he's king of the world, talking down to this, lecturing him in the middle of a show. And when this girl, who I don't know who this girl is that spoke up for Lazy D in this video. I'm not sure who she is. I think Lazy D might know who she is. But she tried to inform Chris of this, right? He tours more than you do, you jackass. And he threw them both out.
Well, dude, you've been really annoying for 2 nights in a row.
For recording? I'm sorry.
No, for being wasted, okay? And for like screaming at my fans last night while they were in line for merch. Now you're like on the stage filming everybody. You got out of your car here for mic check with like a 24 case of beer in your trunk. Do you know that I'm an alcoholic? That's all cool, but I'm an alcoholic. My dad died of alcoholism. Okay, he died of cancer. So like I really don't need to see you be wasted every day. You don't fucking understand how hard it is to fucking work and be on the road and tour and be a musician. This is a fucking party for you and I'm working my ass off. Hey bitch, I don't give a fuck. Why don't both of you fuck off? We're gonna shut the fuck up and leave me alone.
And these are only the heavily documented instances. For every video of an MC Chris meltdown, there is a series of comments from other fans sharing their experiences at MC Chris concerts, most of them sharing a similar theme. When you're playing venues as small as MC Chris, it is very unwise to dispose of your fans as if they have no value and are inherently replaceable. There is not a lot of fat to trim within MC Chris's audience. But if that wasn't enough, MC Chris is also insufferably political, and spends much of his days attempting to provoke his right-leaning fans, not into any sort of discussion, but so that he can berate them for a short time and then ban them from his page. Much like his behavior at his live shows, he gets off on the sense of power he feels in these settings. Either at his show or on his Facebook, he is surrounded by fans, who the majority of will support him despite what he does or says. He can use this small authority like a shield to expel the anger that he feels inside on people who have very few ways to defend themselves from his inflated sense of importance. And just like his concerts, after a short and one-sided argument, he can then just eject the person once he has exhausted his emotional energy on another petty and unnecessary confrontation. MC Chris is very left-leaning, but the most annoying kind of left-leaning person. He supports every corporate Democrat, praising them for pontifications on diversity, equality, and the like, while ignoring the track record for drone bombing, nation building, regime toppling, and just all-around corruption that you expect from any mainstream politician on any side of the aisle. But like most of the people who follow this pattern, a majority of their time is spent not praising Democratic politicians, but criticizing people on the right, and most of all, Mr. Orange Cheeto Man. Now, I'm not here to disparage anyone for their politics, but this behavior is not the best way to amass the kind of cult audience someone like Chris needs in order to remain afloat. Creating an atmosphere of purity tests, blocking fans who don't fall in line, making posts with the intention of antagonizing a portion of your audience, and burning every bridge you've ever built. It's also somewhat ironic that Chris, as an outspoken atheist, is very dogmatic in his beliefs, and he has no problem labeling someone the equivalent of a heretic. He went as far as to compare Gina Carano of The Mandalorian to Nazis, suggesting that her fans are also Nazis. Now, whether you find her joke about gender pronouns to be inappropriate or disagree with her politics, calling her or her fans Nazis is not only disingenuous, it borders on evil. There are only 2 reasons one would call someone a Nazi. The first being that you truly believe this person believes in and wants to enact Nazi ideology, which would be the genocide of nearly by all non-Aryans, and therefore is universally accepted as pure evil, and warrants a violent resistance. The second reason is that you are a disingenuous coward, and you want to enact this type of violent action against people you merely disagree with, and you lack any kind of moral compass, so this allows you to promote irrational aggression against anyone you deem worthy. I'm going to say it flat out. Gina is not a Nazi, but Chris is a small, weak, little man that would gladly watch a mob tear apart someone who does little more than offend his fragile ego. The irony is I doubt Gina will ever struggle as hard monetarily as Chris is, and this is completely the result of Ward's own actions. Remember, Ward, cancel culture goes both ways. After flying by the seat of his children's large-size pants, he is left with few resources to establish a brand that's viable in today's market. With Aqua Teen Hunger Force no longer making new episodes, and C-Lab in the distant memory so far back that some people basically just think it was a fever dream, Ward's ability to ride off of that has faded into the past. During his recent tour, he was unable to afford a Motel 6, and would often opt to spend the night in his car in their parking lot rather than pay the nominal fee for a warm bed and a continental breakfast. Sometimes leading to embarrassing incidents where he would be evicted from the parking lot for the obvious reason that he hadn't paid for the space, and basically at this point, he was a squatter. MC also is in the midst of a messy divorce, something he posts about often. This, of course, putting another strain on his income. He has turned to selling off many of his various toys and novelty items that he collected over the course of his 45 years as a typical consumer nerd. It often makes you question whether his priorities are in the right place. He complains that under Trump, he suffered financially, was nearly homeless, and seems to place the blame of this directly at Trump's administration. He felt so passionately on this subject that he blocked his own brother over a disagreement they had on the phone. He also made a laughable post suggesting that the QAnon Capitol stormers must be rich because they have puffy jackets and purses. I can assure you that anyone who lives somewhere that is cold has a nice jacket if they have two functioning brain cells to rub together. Living in Colorado, I can tell you that even homeless people have very nice jackets. A warm coat does not reflect someone's economic status. But Chris gets very defensive if anyone brings up his daily weed use, a habit that is not cheap. He retorts that it's one of the few things keeping him sane, which is not an optimistic outlook on Ward's mental health. He also recently fan-funded a nearly $1,500 microphone at the advice of his agent. So despite his complaints, he is not quite in the dire situation he would like to paint it as. You have to appreciate his dedication to following his dream, but at this point, Chris is 45, going through a divorce, and has a young son. Going on tour takes a lot of time from you and your family, and at this point with COVID, it doesn't appear as a viable avenue. You have to wonder, if Chris didn't spend so much time hurting his own brand, participating in petty arguments online, and rehashing old beefs with former employers, constantly complaining, and overall putting out a general negative energy, whether he might have amassed a fan base large enough and supportive enough to financially keep him afloat during these tough times. Speaking of bridges burnt, I find this interaction between Chris and the owner of the venue that he had just played at to be very telling. As the staff is attempting to pay him what they say that they had agreed upon, which was a 50-50 split, Chris denies that they ever had this kind of agreement and demands that he see it in writing.
So this is the guy who owns Uncanny Art Gallery in Grand Junction, Colorado, and they did not, they had thought that tonight's split was going to be 50-50, which actually wasn't the deal. So, he had the wrong deal, and now they're trying to pay me without any kind of anything in writing that I said that said this is the deal.
Well, let's just find this out.
They had, there's like $950 they made tonight, and they want to give me $350. So it sounds like they made $600.
We said per the email that...
No, I made three. If we did 50-50, I'm making the same amount that you were. There was 188 done into security and ad and promotion.
Yes, it's right here.
I'm going through third person here, so I apologize. But
No problem.
We said after promotional and costs to throw the show that we would. But again, we can get you the 70-30 split. That's not an issue.
The staff attempts to patronize him and tell him that despite the prior agreement, they will give him what he's demanding now, which is more of a 70-30 split. And they said it's not an issue. But what is an issue is they had agreed on the original payment.
We're under a misunderstanding.
Okay, well, you came up with the deal that's really bad, and you invented it, and you didn't get my okay on it, and I performed.
I did get your okay on it.
You want to show me where it says that?
Yeah, give me just a second here.
Chris very passive-aggressively and rudely denies that they ever had any kind of agreement. He refuses to look them in the eye, and he live streams them to his audience in an attempt to rally up his fans against this small venue.
So don't play here. This is not good.
So this is a podcast then?
No, you're live right now.
Live right
100 people,
okay.
120 people watching you right now.
Talk to Matt Goss, the owner of Uncanny Valley. Consider it set. Got a solid PA system, but have to lock down a stage. We can procure you a hotel room if you want. Would you rather be walking distance from the venue? Are you okay with traveling a couple miles from your hotel? The max capacity for the venue is 100 to 150. We're thinking $15 all ages and starting the show.
It's all right.
Oh, I have nothing in writing from you about 70-30 split whatsoever. And we were honest about the room being limited to 60
So
to
how'd
80
you get
people.
to 50% then?
Because that's what we've usually paid with other artists, strange music artists.
So is this all... I'm sorry, man. Here, I'm just going through what...
But
was
we don't
booked
mind
here.
getting you the 70-30. We'll get you the 70-30. It's not an issue. You don't have to put us on blast when we told you before you even started this that we would get you the 70-30.
You didn't say that before I started this.
No,
You said that after I started this.
No, we said this before you started this.
I'm just putting this on so you guys don't punch
Okay,
me.
well,
Or
do you want to come back in and get some money
We're not
then?
going to punch you.
Well, then back off from my window.
Okay.
All
Respect.
right. Sorry, dude.
So, all right, we'll get you your money. Just sit here for a moment and.
All right. You seem pretty pissed, but all right.
Oh, whatever.
The power of Facebook.
Initially, Chris believes he has won this confrontation because one of the staff members cannot pull up a text that confirms that he agreed to the 50-50 split. It's not long after, though, that the staff member returns, showing that they had an email conversation with his assistant, and the assistant agreed to the payment. Clearly, this is a communication error on Chris's end.
Artie Smith's your manager, right?
He's not my manager, he's my assistant.
He's your assistant? Okay. So here's the email. And no disrespect, sir, because I've always loved you and I still have nothing but love for you. We're trying to get this settled for you. Just wanted to touch base with y'all regarding details for the show. Venue has a capacity of 60 to 100. I've previously discussed with Chris about charging $15 pre-sale, $20 day of. As far as Ryder, he has stated he wanted $100 plus hotel room and 50% of total profits after promotional costs. This was on February 4th that I talked to him, and he said everything sounds good right here.
I don't hear any percentages in any of that, though.
Hotel room and 50% of total profits after promotional costs. 50% total profits after promotional costs. 50%. 50% of the door. I literally just fucking said that.
Okay.
You got what you're entitled to.
I haven't gotten anything.
Well, we're gonna go get it right now, sir. Give us just a moment.
And what's almost sad is at this point you can tell that Chris wants to cry. You can see the blood swelling up in his face. He has the pouty look of a child who's being disciplined. There's even a moment where you can see his face compress and wrinkle as if he is about to burst in tears, but he holds it back. You can tell that the staff is now frustrated, especially because Chris is live streaming this and disparaging their business. This business is how they feed their families. And for Chris to live stream it to hundreds of people, as he says, while talking shit, while trying to portray them in a criminal light, as if they're trying to change the contract last minute to opt out of paying him what he's owed, only to find out that it was his mistake and he clearly doesn't care enough to even review the agreements that his assistant made for him, I could definitely see why the owners of this venue would be frustrated with him.
$475, $478.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sorry about your assistant.
He still has to play it off though, and after they leave, he suggests that they were about to beat him up.
Love it when they get angry too. When they look like they're about to kick your ass and they're calling you sir.
Sir is like what?
It's like the most passive aggressive thing in the world.
It's what police officers say before they do something against the law with.
Which really tells me about Chris's constant victim mentality. At no point did they ever come off as aggressive. In fact, I think they were politer than they needed to be. But Chris is such a victim. He sees every transgression as an attack on him or a threat to his life. What's pretty entertaining though, is that while all of this is happening, Chris flips his phone to reveal that two gorillas are beating the shit out of each other right in front of his car outside the venue, and no one seems to mind or care. It's these interactions, though, that tell me that Chris doesn't actually like confrontation, but he has so little control over his own emotions he can't avoid it. I think this is one of the things that's taking its toll on Chris's mental health. MC has managed to get a small resurgence with The Mandalorian and TikTok, primarily focused on his Boba Fett rap, a song that has been quite popular for some time. Chris continues to whittle away at his ever-shrinking audience. The prospect of him recapturing that momentum he had a near 20 years ago is very unlikely. He is sitting amongst the many other pseudo-celebrities that rose from the early 2000s, but were somewhat lost in the internet age. Now it seems the most attention that they can get is with a controversial tweet or trying to rehash their heyday. I personally was a fan of Ward's for many years, and I can still enjoy a few of his songs, but I've lost a lot of respect for his character, and I worry for his own mental health. He looks rough, even for 45, and his streams have become less coherent over time. His thought process is scattered, and he appears to be always distracted. A few posts here and there have given me a bit of optimism, and hopefully once these divorce proceedings are over, Chris will get back on track, and maybe less likely to lash out his inner anger on people around him. But probably not. He will most likely continue to be an angry little man who validates his behavior by acting like a victim. I don't know about you, but I mean, I started as a fan of his when I was like in high school. About like 10 years ago is when I listened to him.
Yeah, you see, I was there from the very beginning. I watched the initial broadcast on Adult Swim of the episode All That Jazz, which first featured his music. That's an episode of C-Lab 2021.
Oh, okay.
He was the voice of Hesh.
Yeah.
Well, one of the episodes was called All That Jazz, and it had a two-part story where the rest of the crew went off on tour with MC Chris, while Captain Murphy got stuck under a soda machine and bonded with a scorpion and all kinds of... It's C-Lab.
There's some videos where he looks to me like an old blind dog that you're like about to put down, as he's like smoking weed without his hat on, and he's got like the gray, shaggy fur on his face, and his eyes, like he barely keeps them open at some points, and as he just kind of rambles about things that seem so disconnected. He kind of does that like wobbly thing that old dogs do too.
It's almost painful to watch. Really
a little bit. It makes me sad.
But yeah, let's you want to characterize Lazy D and get the whole.
Yeah, I watched the video and it seemed pretty ridiculous.
That he didn't like. And that's what got me blocked from him on Twitter. I won a contest to his on Facebook, I think, where he was like, oh, you do this and I'll follow you on Twitter. So he's followed me on Twitter for a couple of years. And apparently I haven't pissed him off until he put out this tweet about wanting people to pay to tour with him. And I sent a picture of me, from my perspective, not of me, but on stage in Syracuse, New York with Green Jello, opening for Insane Clown Posse.